Okay, good morning. I would like to introduce a Miami-Dade College icon, a national legend, famed coach, professor, sports educator, and two-time endowed teaching chair. She is a true example of leadership, a motivator, and innovator. Her success is exemplified through her students who not only learn from her, but are inspired, motivated, and driven to do great things. Whether in the classroom, on the court, or virtually, Coach Summons raises the bar of excellence and reaches heights that simply amaze and touch the souls and spirit of all that come in contact with her. It is my pleasure to welcome Professor, Coach, and Hall of Famer Susan Summons.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be a part of this an amazing event. Thank you, Erica, for the amazing introduction. You really are the one that inspired me to keep raising that bar as a role model, as a leader in athletics, but not only in athletics, in education, in motivation, motivating people to change their lives, and the students that we work with every day here at our own Miami-Dade Community College campus. I also want to take an opportunity to thank Sandra for inviting me to be a part of this amazing Women's History Month. Enid, Danny, who's our tech guy. I certainly want to applaud Dr. Shiloh, our own Kendall campus president, who also made a recommendation for me to be a part of this amazing event. When I looked at the program, there are so many other tremendous speakers that have helped to raise the bar and inspire us in so many different areas: athletics, science, art, history. So I applaud their effort as well. I applaud their inspiration to continue to motivate and change lives as we do through athletics. The impact and role of women in athletics really has been tremendous. Not only in yesteryears, but more so than ever before. Women in sports and in athletics are receiving a higher level of recognition, and the bar is being raised. I'll paraphrase and use our moderator comment and statement. I'd like to, before I start though, I wanted to share a motivational quote. Often when I'm in the classroom, in my health and wellness classroom or the SLS classroom, psychology, I always like to start off my class session or my session that I'm directing with the motivational quote. And here's one for everyone that may be listening or everyone that has joined that I think you can find impactful. And you can apply this to everything, not just athletics or sports, but in life, in your office, in interpersonal skills with working with your colleague in your office, at your job. The 3 B's in athletics, the 3 B's in athletics: breathe, believe, and battle. Now I use the word battle because battle is also synonymous and one of the words that was used in our opening session at the Kendall campus convocation this year. Battle. Breathe, believe, and battle. Something that we have to have in athletics, we have to have in sports. Breathe, because you've got to be in the moment. Live in the present. Oftentimes, we spend so much time living in the future that we forget to enjoy the present, and we forget to focus on what we're doing in the present and doing it in the present and being good at what we're doing. Believe, because you have to have the faith. You have to have the faith to push through your obstacles. I'm always telling my students, I share that with my colleagues, even if I'm in a meeting, a department meeting, I'm in the classroom, I'm on Zoom, I'm on Blackboard, I'm in virtual. It's always important to push through your obstacles and have the right game plan. In athletics, you have to have a game plan to win. And obviously, we've had some pretty good game plans over the years that have allowed this program to become a winning program, not just on the playing field, but in the classroom and in the nation across the world with consistency. Battle, the last letter of the 3 B's in athletics, the 3 B's in life. You can apply this concept, is you must have the endurance. You see, it's not good enough to breathe and inhale in the moment and live in the moment. Have the faith if you don't have the endurance to run the race, the endurance to go the distance in life. And sometimes in athletics and when you're preparing for a game, you do a lot of preparation. Just like as educators, we do preparation for our presentation in the classroom. We do preparation for preparing for a game. And that allows us to be prepared for the game. But you can't prepare for the unexpected. But you can prepare if you battle and you have the endurance to go the distance in life. You'll be able to make adjustments, change your game plan. Sometimes you have to have a good game plan to work with your colleagues in the office, to work with a new boss, a new chairperson, a new administrator, a new leader. You have to have a good game plan. Sometimes you have to have that game plan to work with your teammates in the playing field. You don't always get along with your teammates in athletics. Athletics in sports is a competitive industry, just like work. No corporate giant is any different, whether it's in the business corporate room, the science corporate room, the education boardroom, the professional sports boardroom. You still have to have the endurance to go the distance in life. We are conquerors. This is a great time to be a woman. It's a great time to be a woman in sports and athletics. And I've been in athletics. I was reading the title that Sandra and her department and the media department provided and was used in the introduction, and it referenced that I was an icon and defined as someone who is admired and well respected. But we're conquerors, and we all as women in this era in athletics focuses on striving for excellence. We have our own diamonds right here, like our own leaders that have been impacted by sports on some level and athletics, right here in our own Miami-Dade community, our own Miami-Dade family. These women were bold. These women were relentless in their pursuit of excellence, because sports and athletics impacted their lives, played a major role in changing their life and helping them to cultivate concepts like leadership, discipline, organization, having that grit, becoming strategists, and always persevering, no matter what the obstacles are, being our future thought leaders, if you will. Critical thinkers, being a part of the solution to the problem, always finding a way to win. That's what sports and athletics teaches you, embodies. It gives you that know-how to always find a way to win in life. These women, Erica Redmond is one such diamond, who is the director of recruitment at Medical Campus, who has benefited from athletics and sports in her life and helped to cultivate the leadership skills and becoming a tremendous diamond right here in our own Miami-Dade college family, one of my former student athletes. Ramona Edwards, another diamond right here in our Miami-Dade campus family, who again was impacted by athletics and sports and helped to cultivate those leadership skills, those strategist skills, those skills that allow you to become that great leader amongst leaders. As a director of administration at the medical campus. And we have our own Madeline Pumeyega, who is another diamond in our Miami-Dade family as the new Miami-Dade College president, our former student athlete and member of our women's basketball program, who helped to lead this program many years ago to its state championship tournament as a center. These women and so many more are trailblazers. That's what athletics teaches you. That's what it provides you, the framework, the foundation, the infrastructure, if you will, to become that competitor, not only in the classroom, but in the boardroom, in your meetings, to solve problems, to be that winner. In short, to be that champion in life. And that's been one of my philosophies ever since I have been involved in sports as a former player, as a former women's professional player, as a coach, is to help students and student athletes and my own colleagues become champions, not just for a day, not just for a week, but for a lifetime. The role of women in athletics is finally receiving the justice that's due, and it's deserving, from the athletic directors to the NFL women head coaches that are taking over the boys club at the NFL draft, to an active seat at the NBA court with Becky Hammon and the San Antonio Spurs, to Miami-Dade's first African-American Caribbean woman athletic director in our own Alicia Dyer. Sports has touched her life. Athletics touched her life and helped her to cultivate a direction, that journey that she wanted to impart on. To the Miami-Dade Kendall campus president, our own Dr. Shallow, who has a basketball stint. I think she is still practicing her free throw. So when she comes to our game, she can take that one free throw at halftime as an honor to women's sports and women leaders in athletics. Our own Madeline Pumeyega. All of these women were impacted by sports and athletics in their life, developing resiliency, leadership, grit, discipline, as I mentioned, becoming strategists, competing, developing those interpersonal skills, becoming more organized, and being able to generate and develop that game plan for life. Others in the sports world, like Don Staley, Shakira Wadali, one of our other former student athletes, Danielle Coleman, another former student athlete, Vivian Caballero, Summer Parr, and these are just a few of over 350, 400 students, just like the Vivian Caballeros, just like the Madeline Pumeyegas, the Erica Redmonds, the Ramona Edwards, the Shakira Wadalis, that have established their footprints, paved the way, carved their niche, because athletics impacted their lives and changed and became and helped them to become role models, not only in sports, but in life, with their own colleagues, with the students whose lives they've touched. Look at all these first women in professional sports and athletics that also continue to inspire little girls all over the world. Little girls now have big girls to look up to. I first coined that phrase at the Naismith Hall of Fame Celebration for Heroes exhibit in Springfield, Massachusetts. It's now one of the titles of a book that I'm writing. But look at these first women professionals. There's so many, I'm not going to name all of them, but How about the first NFL woman official to officiate the Super Bowl, Sarah Thomas? What about the first woman to officiate in the NBA, Violet Palmer? What about the first woman to coach in the NBA, Becky Hammon? There's so many greats that have impacted the entire globe on how athletics has impacted in the role that it's played in their life. Every time a girl played a sport or participated in some type of athletic sport activity, it allowed that young girl to improve their health, to improve their livelihood, to improve their physicality, to stimulate their cognitive ability to think, their critical thinking, to help them to become more alert, to help them develop self-confidence. Self-confidence, because you have to have that if you're competing in sports and athletics. But you know what? You have to have it in life. You have to be able to compete. The world is about competition. Sports has helped to keep their mind off of a lot of negative stuff, even socially destructive behavior or socially destructive events. Athletics has helped to keep women motivated, on track, taking the women from the kitchen to now ruling in the boardrooms. How about that? In presidential seats across the college campus and in the United States with our own first woman president. Vice President Kamala. Lifelong impact of athletics for women has been beneficial. There's a high level of increased confidence, a high level of leadership skills that has really helped to shape the whole direction and the strong infrastructure of how these women have been able to consistently succeed. One of the things that Sandra wanted me to talk about and share was just a couple of stories. And I want to save a portion at the end of our segment for any Q&As. And I always end by asking our viewers, the audience, anyone that's joined, for a takeaway of the presentation. But I'd like to share a couple of stories. You know, the title of this introduction was Life, the Life and Times of Coach Summons, but certainly my history as a sports educator and women's basketball coach, professional athlete, and professor spans 3 decades, almost 4 decades. There's a lot of stories I have. I love storytelling. I often use that when I'm lecturing in the classroom with my students to motivate them, and with the women's basketball teams that I've worked with over the years, and even my own colleagues. But there's one particular story, there's a couple, that resonates and embodies the essence of breathing, believing, and battling. And that's when Hurricane Andrew hit Miami, and I had just moved here from the Boston area. I wasn't originally from Florida, but Florida is my home now. And Hurricane Andrew, a Category 5, hit Miami. I had no clue at that time, really, the magnitude of a hurricane. I'm from Boston. I'm very familiar with snowstorms and blizzards, so I can attest and experience to what a blizzard, a snowstorm, and the impact it can have on you. But I had no idea the impact that a Category 5 hurricane can have on your life, on your livelihood, on your wellness, on your environment. And I learned that year, Hurricane Andrew was tremendous. But one of the things we learn how to do, and the impact that athletics has on you, it gives you that ability to battle. It gives you that ability to motivate and persevere no matter what the circumstances or obstacles are. And that year, Miami-Dade lost their roof just because the hurricane had blistering tornadoes and it tore the roof apart. There was no facility we can use. The floor was wet. The facility ended up becoming a shelter for the American Red Cross, which means we had no home court advantage and no gym to practice in, and we had 30 games. So that year, you had to really think outside of the box, really become a thought leader, and figure out a strategy on how, number one, you're going to motivate these students, keep them motivated, and still successfully have a winning season, in spite of the fact there's no home court advantage. And you're dealing with various types of conditions, environmental conditions, emotional wellness issues, mental health issues as a result of the Category 5, loss of homes, loss of jobs, power out, no electricity, American Red Cross, all of the dynamics that we all know can affect one's livelihood. Just like the pandemic, the coronavirus that we're currently in. But athletics can change and give you the infrastructure and the foundation and the strength and courage to persevere no matter what that obstacle is. And you just apply those strategies that you used when you endured the Hurricane Andrew that allowed you to experience success. That year, we practiced at the Dave and Mary Jewish Community Center. Those of you who are familiar with the Kendall area knows that they have a tremendous facility in the Dave and Jewish Community Center. And they themselves had structural damage from the Category 5 Hurricane Andrew, but they allowed us to use their facility. We didn't even have a full court. We had a half a court and the water was dripping down. So every day when we go into the gym, they would leave buckets, 5 empty buckets, and we'd come in every day with a mop, and some of the players, we would take turns and grab the bucket and we would place them where the water was dripping, so the water would drip in the bucket and the court would be dry. That's how we practiced. Now, including Coach Redmond, who is a part of that whole journey, can certainly validate that an experience like that builds character. It builds integrity. It builds being humble. It builds discipline. It builds that know-how to want to achieve success and be a thought leader to persevere. And that year, we went 24-5. We were ranked 8th or 9th in the nation, which was extraordinary because it was a Category 5. We had no gym facility, and every day we were mopping up water or carrying buckets to place in the gym area facility that we was using to try to have a practice on a half court and never really had a full court. But that shows you that anything in life is possible for you to achieve, not only as a woman, but as an individual. If you persevere and you believe and you have faith and you're willing to battle and go the distance and push through any of your obstacles in life. Another story I would share is very impactful, is when I had an opportunity in college to finish my college degree at Lamar University in Texas, Beaumont, Texas. And that year, I had just received one of the highest college awards, presidential awards, called the Babe Dickerson Saharius Outstanding Scholar Athlete Award. And anyone who's familiar with athletics and sports knows that Babe Dickerson Saharius was one of the world all-time global sports icon in every athletic activity: golf, basketball, swimming, soccer, tennis, you name it. The Babe Dickerson Saharius participated in all of those sports. That's part of the reason and history why she got that name and title. Anyway, in Texas, there is a famous museum called the Babe Dickerson Saharius Museum, and my portrait is bronze plated in that museum as one of the first African-American student athletes or scholar athletes from Lamar University to be inducted into that museum. But that year I received the presidential highest award, the Babe Dickerson Saharius Scholar Athlete Award, which included full scholarship, gold medallion, and a stipend. And that was my senior year of college. And in the same time frame, I was drafted by the Women's Professional Basketball League, the first ever Women's Professional Basketball League, the WBL. And though I was torn between finishing my senior year and graduating, or playing professional women's basketball and yet becoming or making history, a little girl from a very small city in Roxbury in Boston, Massachusetts, would have an opportunity maybe to be drafted, a dream come true, professional basketball. And I made a decision at that point to forego my senior college year because I, in fact, was drafted. And not only was I drafted in the first ever women's professional historical women's basketball league in the United States, but I was drafted in the 3rd round. So that was huge. That changed my life and also created a footprint in the journey that I have cultivated over these years. And I became a women's professional basketball player and a part of history, still to this day. But I went back to college to get my degree. And I would drive every day on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, to New Hampshire College in the snow, sometimes in the blizzard, and I would do college on the weekend. That's how I cultivated the process in completing my degree. Again, it references back, you have to have the ability to battle and have the endurance to push through all of life's obstacles, whatever those obstacles are. I often think of the poem by poet laureate Maya Angelou, one of my favorite, Still I Rise. And that's what we have to do as women, not only women in athletics, but women in science. My colleagues that are in the life science and health and wellness area, my colleagues in the psychology department, my colleagues in history, we have to continue to rise and be that leader that helps to change the face and be that change that we want to see in life. Be that change that we want to see. Because we're champions. And champions always run the race to win. That's what athletics does for you. That's the role and impact it's had on my life. It has also afforded me the opportunity to work out, to stay in shape, to be healthy, even for my age, to be healthy not just for life for one day or a week, but to be healthy for a lifetime. That's the other impact athletics has had because of the training, the vigorous training, the vigorous physical training over the years. As a women's professional athlete, I had to train 2 and 3 times a day in training. When I first took the job here at Miami-Dade College, another short story, I actually took the job at Miami-Dade College and I was involved in the dance department with Darlene Falls. She's a retired faculty member. We worked together and I helped her with choreography on different dance routines. That's part of my background. And also when step aerobics became popular, I then started teaching a variety of step aerobic courses and classes. So athletics and fitness and sports has played a amazing role in my life. that has allowed me and helped me to have the energy I have right now, to be who I am. I would not change a thing. Everything that we go through in life helps us to cultivate the next footprint on where we're going to step. And so I believe that I'm very humble to be a part of all of the women that are speaking and a part of this Women's History Month series. I am very grateful and humbled to have been a part of the Miami-Dade College family and the Miami-Dade College community, going on now for over 35 years. And I've been very grateful and humbled to have an opportunity to work with and change the many lives that I think that I've touched over a lifetime that I've been here at Miami-Dade College and across the globe, even outside of the classroom. My students, my colleagues, you know, the thank you notes, the thank you cards that I get, the phone calls that I constantly receive and saying thank you for changing my life. Because of you, I'm the woman that I am today. Because of you, I'm a stronger leader. Because of you, I'm motivated. Because of you, I persevered. I just had a phone call from a student yesterday who is very down. This pandemic, as you know, has affected everyone's different levels of wellness. And wellness is not just specific to the physical, it references the emotional wellness, the environmental wellness, the mental wellness. And I just received a phone call from a student yesterday who needed motivation. They needed some inspiration. They wanted to quit what they were doing. And I said, you can't quit because you're a champion. And champions find a way to win. I had another call from a colleague who was experiencing a situation that they needed to try to figure out a strategy to help them address the situation. And I said, you got to get a game plan. Remember, people don't fail, plans do. You got to have a plan. You got to have a good game plan to address and deal with whatever situation that you encounter. And if you have a good game plan, you can win the game. So that's what we try to advocate to our students, to our student athletes alike, to all of these women that have become amazing leaders, amazing empowered women in athletics and in sports and in education and here at the college, that are being our new thought leaders. And I'm very proud to have been a part of their life. And I'm very proud to know that they have been a part of mine. Because of their inspiration, I continue to raise the bar and want to change lives, not just here at Miami-Dade College, but all over the world. So breathe, believe, and battle. And remember, the bar has been raised, so still you must rise as women and strong women in leadership roles in athletics and in other venues. I'd like to now take the opportunity to open the floor for any question and answers and respond to any feedback that may be available at this time.
Okay, we have a question that says, Coach, have you heard updates through the years from your players of the 92 team? The year 92. I think all of your players, but they want to know specifically about that 92 team, 92-year team.
I've received some contact from some players. I have been contacted by some players from that 1992 team. There are so many teams. There are 35 teams that have cultivated an extraordinary group of outstanding women. And every day, actually, I'm either getting contacted by someone from one of those teams, or I run into them, or I get an email to say, hello, you were just coming across my mind. In fact, I just got an email from someone on the 1994 team that said, Coach, I was just thinking about you during this pandemic. You changed my life. I wanted to make sure you were all right, so I'm sending you an email. So I'm contacted all the time by different players from different teams, every day, actually.
Okay, another question. What is the biggest obstacle you have had to face regarding your gender in your career?
I think the biggest obstacle, and I like that question, I think the biggest obstacle is, first of all, we know historically that sports and athletics has always groomed, it's the playing field has been made for the men. So generally, they grow up with that sense of competition and competing, not only in the playing field, but in the boardroom. So it's a natural skill. It's a natural characteristic. But women now are understanding that it's okay to compete. You can be a lady off the floor, but when you're in your element of competition, you have to compete, and it's okay because you're still a woman. So as it relates to gender levels and the obstacles that I might have faced because of athletics, developing that competitive edge and that competitive instinct in me, when I was in a situation that unfolded an obstacle as it related to gender, I was able to overcome it quickly just because I'm a competitor. And athletics and sports provided me that foundation and infrastructure to be able to compete, even if I was in a meeting, in a boardroom. I sat on a committee once. I was the only woman on a committee with all men. It was a sports committee. I felt perfectly comfortable because I'm a competitor, and athletics forces you to compete and helps you to develop the art of competition.
Okay, very good. Can you share a couple of personal stories from successful students?
Personal stories from successful students, there are so many, but I'll share a couple. One such story is, there's a young lady who came to me from Killian High School. This young lady now is actually a sports agent for the WNBA, and she's working with one of the NBA professional men's basketball teams. She's a graduate of Miami-Dade College, but she suddenly discovered in high school that she was pregnant, and she thought her life was over. She thought she couldn't go to college. She thought she would lose her scholarship, and a call came into my office. She scheduled a meeting with me, and she cried, and she said, I don't have a future. My life is over. And I said, no, your life is not over. Your life is actually just beginning. That this is not an obstacle. This is an opportunity for you to turn and affect not only your life, but the life of your child and the life of everyone else. And you can still have this opportunity. And that student, that statement to that student and her family that day changed her whole world. And she went on to help lead this program to the state championship tournament, become an all-conference player, graduate with a degree from Miami-Dade, go to a Division I university, graduate with her bachelor's, went on to get her master's, and now she's a sports agent for a women's professional WNBA team and working with the NBA. That is an amazing success story. Another one, very quickly, there's so many, is a young lady from American Senior High School, 6'4", scrawny kid, thin. All she could do was jump. She wasn't a scorer, but her dad, who worked for the Miami-Dade Police Department, recruited Miami-Dade, recruited Coach Summons, recruited Coach Redmond, and said, you're the coach that my daughter needs to play for. She can play for anyone because she's 6'4". But we need someone who can cultivate her life skills, someone who can groom her, someone who can help her mature, someone who can mentor her, someone who can bring out the talent. And that's what we did. And that student signed with Miami-Dade at 6'4", and in 1 year became ranked top 4 in the nation among community colleges and became an All-American for Miami-Dade College. And she had over 65 Division I college scholarship offers after her first year with us, and she never even had any offers out of high school. She is now and was one of the WNBA draft picks, played for the WNBA professional women's basketball team. She now lives in California, and she's married to one of the former NBA players, and she's a top educator, an educator in the California school system. Another story. There's so many. Kathy Brown, who's a detective with the Miami-Dade Police Department. Vivian Caballero, right there from Miami Senior High School. Kathy Brown from American Senior High School. These are local students that have gone on to do some amazing things and had their lives impacted by athletics and the Miami-Dade women's basketball program, Coach Summons, and candidly, Coach Redmond.
Okay. Another question. What do you think is the best decision you've made in your professional life?
The best decision I've made, that's a great question, that I've made in my professional life is this. And I'm often asked the question, why didn't I coach at the NCAA Division I level? Because obviously I could virtually, as a 6-time Hall of Famer and a National Coach of the Year, one of Florida's first, and only the 3rd African-American woman that's a National Coach of the Year in the world, I could have had opportunities to coach at the NCAA Division I university level, get a contract, have a radio show, get a shoe contract, but sometimes the grass is not always greener on the other side of the fence. And I decided a long time ago to build a pyramid and build my pyramid here with the Miami-Dade College community and the Miami-Dade College family, that if I could build my pyramid here, my pyramid would become global and exceed any NCAA university framework that could ever be offered to me and provide me. And that's exactly what it's done. So that is a decision that I made that I think has been impactful. It's been a great decision. I know a lot of people. I have cultivated relationships and friendships all over the world that last for a lifetime. And so it has afforded me that opportunity. But that was a great decision. Oftentimes you hear coaches leaving the university. They got fired, or they don't know if their job is stable, or there's issues that they're dealing with at that level. And I thought it was a better decision that I build my pyramid here and help to make Miami-Dade College on a global level and establish it athletically in sports, help to establish it and continue to establish it as a national icon to women's sports and athletics and women's basketball.
Okay, thank you. What would be your advice on students that want to become a female coach?
My advice I would share with students or anyone that wants to become a female coach or a coach is, first, you want to try to intern. Volunteer somewhere, high school level, recreation, YMCA, the community college level. Get your feet wet, volunteer, maybe volunteer as a manager. Make sure it's something you really want to do. I always tell students, no matter what their career choice is, whether it's being a coach or being a computer operator or a director of recruitment, you want to spend time in that career to make sure that's an area you really want to be in. And that gives you the best opportunity to understand, to cultivate, if you really want to pursue that as a career. That's the best advice I would give any individual that is interested in becoming a female coach or a coach. Find someone to shadow. Find someone that you're willing to just call up and say, can I come in your gym? Can I watch your practice? Can I watch you coach? Things like that, shadowing. And I've gotten that question often many times before. So it's very, very not uncommon, very usual. And that's the best advice I would give that individual.
Okay. You spoke earlier about the first NFL Super Bowl female referee, Sarah Thomas, Violet Palmer, the NBA, Becky Hammon, assistant coach with the NBA team. Do you ever see in our near future an NBA head women's basketball coach?
Well, I certainly believe that we're moving in the direction where women are getting more notoriety, more recognition, more respect in their profession, for their profession and what they do, not just because they're a woman. And sometimes we want to make sure that we're getting the contract. We need to get that contract that's owed to us. We know the WNBA this past summer in the bargaining unit worked hard to get an invaluable contract where women in the WNBA in the professional ranks are now making money that is almost comparable to their counterpart in gender, the NBA. So I truly believe with the different leadership positions we've seen across the board at every level of the ladder in sports and athletics, with women taking more of a leadership role and getting more high positions, to our vice president of the United States being a woman, the first woman and the first African-American woman, having a woman as the first woman president for Miami-Dade College, which is a global institution in the world. There's no doubt in my mind that we are moving in a direction where I anticipate, maybe I'm hoping in my lifetime, but in a future lifetime, we will certainly see a woman in that role, in that capacity, because it's already unfolding before our eyes. And we will see a woman coaching in the NBA as a head coach. Who knows? It might even be me. We're going to see a woman in the boxing ring that's the announcer. It might even be me. It might be someone else, because the footprints have already been carved. They're already unfolding as we speak in athletics and in the sports world.
Okay, and your last question. You have inspired so many, but what drives and inspires you to keep going and continue to be successful?
That's a great question. One way I would answer that question is, as a little kid growing up in a family of 7, I always remembered being inspired to want to be the first to graduate, be the first to get my high school diploma, because no one was going to college in my family. And I remember that being a very strong ambition. I remember wanting to play sports and how sports kept me from destructive behavior and saved my life virtually. I remembered I thought I wanted to give back if I ever had a chance to give back to this sport, to the community, to college, to education, to help change lives the way someone helped me change my life. There's so many people that was with me on my journey at different times in the journey that saw something in me. Well, I see something in people. And when I see something in them, that in turn inspires me to continue to raise the bar. And it reminds me who I am. It reminds me that I have to continue to rise and lead and be that role model, not just in athletics or in sports, but in life, in the world, in the globe. And I could be, along with those diamonds that I mentioned earlier in my presentation, one of those hidden diamonds, those hidden gems right here in South Florida, right here on Miami-Dade's campus, that's changing lives on a global level. That's what helps to inspire me. That's what keeps me inspired every day, to know that that is my passion. And through the passion, that's fuel. That's fuel that keeps my pilot lit, that allows me to motivate students and my colleagues and people that I come in contact with every day, because I simply love life and I love to live life. And I believe I breathe every day, and I certainly battle and have the endurance to push through.
Excellent. Coach Summons, we would like to thank you so much for presenting today, for sharing your story with us. And we're going to ask you, as we close, to give us your closing remarks.
What I'd like to say is, and I always end this by asking my students in the classroom, if you can describe this presentation in one word or one sentence. I'd like you just in the chat bar, take a moment. For those of you who were on with us, who joined, if you can just share with me and share with the audience in the chat bar, one statement or one word to describe this motivational presentation that I shared with you today. And then lastly, I simply want to remind everyone that you're conquerors. Go out and conquer. Go out and believe. Go out and breathe. And go out and battle. Be in the moment. Live in the present. Believe and have the faith to push through your obstacles and in life and battle. Remember, you have to have the endurance to go the distance in life, and make sure you have a good game plan. Thank you.
Excellent. Coach Summers, there are just a couple of more questions here. So we want to try to get them in. We have a few minutes left. It says, was there a certain experience that made you know that you wanted to do motivational speaking?
Well, that's an interesting question. I've always seen myself as a motivational speaker. I actually started college and I entered college as a dancer. I was never a basketball coach. I actually went to college to be a dancer and an entertainer. That was my goal. And then I took ballet class and modern dance and tap and choreography, and I had some injuries that prevented me from really pursuing the dance career. And so I had an opportunity to switch gears, switch my journey to basketball. And that's how my basketball career unfolded. I was very talented. I was a multi-talented athlete. I could play all sports. And so I had an opportunity to get a college scholarship to pursue basketball. And that's how my basketball career unfolded. And but that experience really kind of changed the dynamic of things. And then the other component was simply to know in all of those career components of being a professional basketball player, a coach, an educator, a teacher, a former police officer. I'm former military, United States Army, honorable discharge. That's my background. In all of those careers, I've always seen myself as a motivational speaker, changing lives, touching people's lives. And so it's a natural transition for me. Even as a radio personality, I've had been contacted and I've been asked to be a part of a radio show. And I know Miami-Dade College themselves used to have a radio broadcast program and an amazing studio right here on Miami-Dade Kendall campus. They need to awaken that radio broadcast program in that studio and get that radio show back up and running. So I've always wanted to be a motivational speaker, and I see myself speaking in front of millions of people every day in a vision every day.
Okay, and in closing, could you give us one strategy that you would give as advice to others going forward in our new normal? What would it be?
Well, that's a great question. Just in closing, one strategy I would provide, I'm constantly providing strategies in this delicate time frame, a very sensitive time frame for everyone across the world, is number one, some people have chosen to stand still and wait for the pandemic to be over before they start their life again. And then others have chosen to keep moving, even in spite of the pandemic, because they're still going after their dream. And my recommendation to anyone who's listening to this broadcast, to this presentation, to this delivery is life happens. And even with this pandemic, God bless and prayers and blessings to all the families around the world that have lost a loved one, first and foremost. However, life still has to keep moving forward, and you have to keep moving forward, and you still have to live. You have to live even more so now for the people whose lives have been lost. You have to be that leader. You have to be that motivator. You have to be that perseverer that continues to keep going. You have to be able to cultivate and motivate that student or motivate your colleague who's feeling depressed, who's experiencing anxiety, who's experiencing some environmental issues or emotional issues that we all know are affected by this pandemic. We have to keep living. And a strategy simply is get out and walk, get out and run. Listen to music while you're walking. If you don't want to walk, climb your stairs. Create a fitness workout where you're running up your stairs in your household. Some people don't feel comfortable going into a fitness facility right now, working out just because of the pandemic, and that's certainly understandable based on the conditions, but it doesn't prevent you from working out right at your home. You have some of the tools right there in front of you. If you don't want to work out, do yoga, meditate. You want to be at one with yourself. You want to be at peace with yourself as you continue to move forward during this time in a pandemic. And you want to be that wheel on the bike that keeps turning, because if you keep turning, you're going to keep riding. And if you keep riding, you're going to ride straight to the finish line of success.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Coach Summons. We appreciate you. We appreciate your thoughts. And we will certainly say at the conclusion, mask up and continue to social distance. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you for having me. Thank you, Erica. And thank you, Sandra, Enid. And thank you, everyone, for being a part of this amazing Women's History Month speaker series.
Excellent, Coach. Excellent. Thank you so much.